Hi everyone, delonewolf here and welcome back to another EVE Online video. Today's video is going to be a bit of a discussion video and it's also going to be the last video for 2020. I first of all want to thank you guys as always for all of your support watching the videos. We're growing nicely on the channel, almost getting to 25,000 subscribers. So yeah, thank you very much for all of your support. It's really awesome, keeps me motivating and I'm having a lot of fun with the hobby. So for now, making videos is still definitely on the radar. I also of course want to wish you guys the best for 2021. Hopefully this next year will be a little bit less crazy than 2020 and yeah, I just hope that everyone can have a blast, whether it is with EVE Online or without. I know I'll keep playing the game, but let's get to the meat of the matter, because CCP came out with another dev blog talking about what they've done in 2020 and what they're actually looking at in 2020 as well. So we'll take a look at the dev blog, quickly cover some of the changes that they've made, and then perhaps try to speculate on what's on the radar for 2021, and then perhaps also see if there's like things that I can see opportunity-wise for me personally when it comes to my time in EVE Online. So as always, if you want to read this dev blog for yourself, you can go to eveonline.com, you click on the news link, which brings you to the articles website. Down here we have the dev blogs, and we're talking about the EVE Online ecosystem outlook, which is this one, and it's a pretty large dev blog, so if you want to read it for yourself, definitely take the time to do so. We're not going to go through all of it, but let's perhaps start with the bullet points of the accomplishments that CCP is giving us here for 2020. So big strides were made towards reining in capital proliferation with changes to mineral distribution and the power of capital umbrellas. Several sources of RMT ISK supplies were addressed, especially loopholes in incursions and faction warfare missions. Didn't really know that that was a thing, but yeah, just fight those bots, that's always good news. Payment fraud prevention methods were also significantly improved. Always be careful, of course, with your accounts, but here, quick word, of course, don't buy ISK from anyone. Only go to CCP and be super careful with your accounts. They're prized possessions, so you don't want to lose them. Changes made to the capital ecosystem to improve diversity, promote escalation, and increase destruction. Several meaningful updates were made to structures, reducing structure spam, reducing the power and relevance of time zone tanking, and structures became more rewarding to destroy. Very big changes actually here with the structure core as well. Then we have the encounter surveillance system and dynamic bounty systems that were launched together to dynamically curb excessive system outputs, support PvP income streams, and increase risk to low attention ratting. And then since October 2019, a rapid pace of balance and meta changes have been established and maintained, enabling faster responses to feedback. So I would say that I'm not too touched by most of these, right? Especially the capital proliferation thing. We know that we're in the resource crunch, and as a natural extension of that, capital ship construction is probably a lot harder and more expensive to do at this point. But just like with minerals, I think here we will be looking at a problem of good old stockpiles that have been made through the good old days of the resource bonanza, and yeah, they will need that increased destruction in order to address that. Now the war is probably going to help, although I'm not sure if we've seen that many big capital and super capital engagements, but yeah, other than that, we will probably always have a couple of big groups that are holding on to massive stockpiles of capitals and super capitals that will still provide them with a certain advantage, because it is harder now to produce almost anything in the game. The ESS surveillance system and the dynamic bounty system, I think this one is interesting because I do feel like CCP has given themselves the necessary levers to keep this balanced. I think at first it was a little bit too punishing for the ratters. Basically risk reward became completely out of whack, and that activity saw just a massive drop. If I'm not mistaken, they've increased the general payouts a couple of times to basically, you know, give people a reason to rat in nullsec once again, but then they can of course decide on, okay, you know, more activity should be punished more, right? If players are again banning altogether in a couple of systems, creating a safe bubble and only ratting there, they can definitely nerf that aspect of as well. So I think that this is a pretty interesting system, and it's definitely opened up some interesting playstyles for streamers, I would say, because I've seen quite a few of them, you know, organize small and larger fleets, go after big ESS banks and try to do those heights. So I think it's an interesting system, and CCP just needs to have the right balance so that there's enough fish in the sea basically for these whalers to go after, you could say. And then the structure changes, of course, this is the one that has hit me as well. Ultimately, I think it was a perfect storm of all of the changes with the resource crunch that has forced larger entities to also gain more influence in HiSec so that they can secure their own mineral supplies. And as a result, there is now a situation in EVE Online where for solo players and small corporations, it is going to be very hard to maintain structure, because you can't really defend them against those bigger, more organized groups. And there is a certain reluctance to accept free ports from these smaller groups in a lot of space that is now, you know, also being influenced by these bigger entities, by nullsec, by lowsec, etc. So at the moment, yeah, it's a little bit unfortunate, of course, because it was an incredible period in Detal where I also had all of these structures, all of these services up and running, and we could see players enjoy that a lot. But that is just something that is not really possible at the moment. Super challenging. I think if your dream is to set up your own structures, your own facilities, you will want to at least start your own corporation, and you will need players that will help you for the defense of it. That's going to be your real challenge. Before, it could have been, you know, getting everything together, but ISK-wise, it's never been that much of a problem. The cores are a big incentive for destruction, but they're not that prohibitive of a cost, I would say, either. It's just that all the structures are a lot more in the crosshairs of organized groups right away, and the defense is now needed, where before there were so many structures around that you were quite often staying under the radar of a lot of these groups. So that's the new reality that we live in. A lot of these changes, I think, have been quite harsh, but right here CCP also clearly mentions that, right? We have a low income situation, a high income situation, and last year we were just creating too much stuff and ISK into the game. A healthy state is somewhere in the middle, and at the moment CCP is recognizing that, yeah, we nerfed everything into the ground basically. It's very difficult to create resources, it's a lot harder to make ISK. Overall, I'm a little bit surprised at how well things have been balanced, although Tech 1 battleships, Tech 1 battlecruisers have gone up substantially in price. That's also the first casualty of all of those resources that were easily created, those Tech 1 minerals. But Tech 2 prices have not done too badly. Tech 3 prices are still quite reasonable. And while there's some minerals that have increased in price quite a lot, I think players are already adapting to it, and you can see titanium already going back to a more average range. So overall, I think that CCP has done a pretty good job of keeping, you know, excessive changes from creating excessive results in the economy. It's not like all of a sudden something is costing 20, 30 times more, or we get out of control inflation or deflation in anything. Overall, I think we're doing quite okay, but there is this recognition. At the moment, there is low income. I think they're still waiting for us to get through some stockpiles, which I'm pretty sure they're well aware of. And then into the future, we're in all likeliness going to get some more stuff to do, some more ways to create income into the game, and we'll see how CCP decides for all of that to be handled. So let's take a look at all of these bullet points as well, and see if we can speculate on what they may mean. Improve customization of player-owned space through iHub upgrades, allowing meaningful choices and trade-offs. Now, this is nullsec stuff for actual system owners, so bigger alliances, bigger corporations. Don't really know what to expect there, but hopefully they can nail it, basically make it worth your while to own it. Trade-offs, of course, so they're definitely going, it's definitely going to mean that if you want a haven for mining, you're going to make it a lot harder to be ratting there. Introduce your reserve bank keys for the ESS as players start planning heights and or fortifying their bank defenses as billions of ISK become accessible across all of nullsec. Yeah, all right, keep iterating on that ESS. I think it's a system full of potential. I think CCP has, as I've said, all of the levers in hand to make this a success. So hopefully they can keep working on that, add more dynamic systems. The dynamic bounty system has allowed for geographical resource balancing, and the plan is to extend and expand on that with dynamic systems for resource distribution and industry. The DBS allows for quick iterations, and there have already been 2 updates since it released, raising the baseline bounty multiplier in null and low sec. So that's a little bit what I was talking about or speculating on, that SSB does have these levers in hand, so that, you know, a change in the dynamic system doesn't completely obliterate a certain playstyle. They've been raising the baseline bounty multipliers to keep players ratting. Basically, they're looking to do that as well with resource distribution and industry. That could be very interesting, of course, but very difficult for me to speculate on what that could mean. Continue to balance risk and reward for income with attention as an additional pillar with the risk reward framework. EVE has low attention style gameplay that is perfectly acceptable. However, care must be taken to ensure that the rewards of that gameplay balance attention and risk, and so attention is to revisit high risk income platforms like carriers and marauders and revisit lower attention options in more precise ways. So all right, carriers and marauders, we can expect changes on those. I'm still looking at my own golem to own at some point, but someone actually mentioned that in the comments when I talked about it, you know, owning a golem at some point. What the hell would you own a golem for in high sec? And at the moment it's maybe for the events, right? There are some events that have content for battleships, and there's the level 4 missions, but other than that, not really that much of a reason to own a marauder. So we'll see what their change is going to be. It could be interesting. This is a big one that was actually pretty controversial, you could say, and talked about a lot in the subreddits. Where I took a look at the comments on this dev blog. Address one of the most debated subjects in EVE, AFK cloaky camping, with improved systems to get rid of the frustration of AFK cloaking and its total lack of counterplay, without removing the ability for hunters to catch lazy prey or for spies to be able to scout and monitor systems with strategic value. So it's on the radar. They are probably going to do something about AFK cloaky camping. Again, can't really speculate on what that's going to be. It's just one of the comments that to me was pretty interesting. Have a sort of a fuel system in place so that you can't just park your ship in there, press the cloak, and then go away from the keyboard, leave it on there until downtime. That's basically what you should counter. So it's interesting. It's definitely something that we'll see what CCP comes out with as a solution. But yeah, a fuel for your cloak could perhaps be one of those. Further define the difference between the 5 categories of space and foster geographical variety. The semi-lawless frontier of lowsec has the potential to become much more than it is now, as Empire's patience with intrusive... This is big, actually, I think. As the Empire's patience with intrusive capsuleers in highsec is wearing thin, while wormhole resources will see increased demand. So definitely they want to do more with lowsec, which could include faction warfare. Honestly, that could be pretty clear. Empire's patience with intrusive capsuleers is wearing thin. Not sure what that means, but that could mean some sweeping changes for highsec, nerfs for highsec potentially. So I'm really curious to know more about this one. And then wormhole resources will see increased demand. This could go in many different directions. Of course, you could just nerf the output and then say, look at that, increased prices does increase demand. Or they could try to basically expand that economy of tech tree production. Maybe some new tech tree ships. That would, I think, be super popular and could increase the demand for resources there. Or they could also add new resources, which is actually something that they touched on, is that they took a lot away from wormhole space, but that this was to make room for new stuff as well. So yeah, potentially iteration on lowsec and wormhole space, and then for highsec players perhaps will need to adapt to even more changes as well. and then establish a sustainable role for Rorquals and Orcas, and do a general balance pass on mining ships to ensure that they each have a unique role and they are balanced in terms of wealth generation and survivability. So yeah, the Orca is... Okay, I'll just honestly say it. My first thought here is that the Orca could get nerfed, and I personally think that that's not such a good idea. I think the Orca is not completely out of whack when it comes to how much mining it can do, and it's a very nice end goal for solo players, smaller players. It is basically an oversized ship. Some players say it's a capital, some players it's not. I'm not going to go into that debate, but the Orca is a very nice goal for a large ship for you to try to earn or make yourself, and then you have this big ass mining platform that is not, I think it's like in line with the Mackinac in what it can potentially do, you know, using a completely different mechanic with the mining drones and things like that. So I think it's already in a pretty good spot for high-sec mining. I could be wrong on that, of course. I don't have all of the metrics on this, but I personally really like the Orca as sort of an end game goal for smaller solo players that choose the mining track, right? You can go into all of these mining barges, but eventually you also want that Orca as your final ship. So not sure how I feel about potentially nerfing the Orca here, and then yeah, finding a balance between wealth generation and survivability. I think that's been on the radar quite a lot, and it's very difficult to do with ganking, but we'll see how it works. And then this one I like as well: add new personal deployables, both to allow more control of your immediate surroundings and to unlock brand new meta opportunities. So while my read on this is that while the solo players, the small corporations at the moment have lost the structured gameplay, basically, it is very risky, and you're basically forced into organizing into a bigger group so that you can counter those big fleets that are going after you under a war deck. With new personal deployables, you could have some cooler options that are not necessarily also such long-term commitments, right? Having a structure in a system, it basically means that you're making that system your home base. If you could have more smaller deployables, but that you can then take with you, for instance, in your Orca, that can also carry your other ships, and that can then create content for you, that could be very cool. So of course, you know, can't speculate exactly on what they're planning to do here. I'm not in the know, but personal deployabilities for new you know, for control of your surroundings and new meta opportunities, I think that could be very, very interesting for me personally, for instance. After that, we get a little bit of a prognosis. So they're saying that balance and progression has improved from a C to a B rating, economy and industry from a D to a C rating. So they're still not great. I think they want to do more on the industry front as well. Cheating and abuse is remaining B. I think they're doing quite okay. Down here, we actually have some numbers. So far this year, they have banned 42,000 accounts. When it comes to botting and RMT, of which 15% or 7,200 have been reported by vigilant players. So don't say, I would say that CCP is fighting as hard as they can when it comes to botting and RMT. But it is a very big problem as well. 42,000 bans over a year, you know, that's over 100 bans every single day. That is indeed quite a lot. So my conclusion here, yes, for us solo players, for us Care Bears, we will have to adapt. We've had to adapt, especially in the later part of the year, I would say, to the new reality with the resource restraints, and then, you know, the bigger groups starting to show their influence all over EVE Online, not just their own nullsec pockets. And as a result, we have sort of lost the structure gameplay. I myself have moved on to a more nomadic existence. I'm moving around in my Orca. I've got jump clones all over high-sec so that I can do different types of content the way I want it and how I want it. And yeah, high-sec is in the crosshairs, potentially with nerfs. That's at least how I'm reading that line about the empires not really liking everything that the Capsuleers are doing at the moment. And so on the other hand, there's positive things as well. I'm kind of looking forward to these personal deployables. I think that could be full of potential for me personally. And then otherwise, for me, I would say wormhole space is still very much an option when I have enough time to commit to a plan there. C1 wormhole, for instance, is still something that is tailor-made for a solo player or a tiny group, and so that could be where I'll find my refuge. And we know that there is also changes coming for at least demand for wormhole space stuff, so value there could be quite high, and that could be our place if you know, if we find the opportunity and all of that. So overall, yeah, I'm looking forward to these changes. I think this will feel quite harsh. This chart right here is absolutely true, especially for newer players at the moment. We're in a low income situation, but you know, a difficult situation is also one that is filled with opportunities. All your efforts now, I think, are very valuable actually in the game. If you can tough it out now, you can tough it out in any of the other states of the game. If you can find your fun now, you can find your fun in any other states of the game. And I'm still enjoying EVE Online every single day, doing a bit of exploration, thinking about what I'm going to do next, looking at the changes, trying out new fits, new ships, things like that. Making plans is at the moment on my radar as well. I'm full of them, so some of them of course will still depend on exactly what CCP is planning to do for 2021. A lot of this focused on nullsec, lowsec, wormhole space, so it doesn't necessarily hit me, but highsec as well, of course, with that potential nerf right there. And yeah, what piques my interest here, these new personal deployables, that could be very, very interesting as well. So yeah, there you go, guys. That's going to be it for this video, the EVE Online ecosystem outlook. Again, best wishes for 2021. Thank you very much for all of your support, and as always, I'll see you next time. Oh, where is there?